Insight Grand Rising, and welcome to Violet with Blooming Lotus. My name is Danielle Claxton. Today is April 10th. Today's the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
And on today's show, we have the wonderful Lavender. Well, I know her Lavender Spirit Traveler. And I guess the original title was Spiritual Birthing, but we're gonna see where this goes because they all the way around. So, Spirit, you was just telling us because you said that basically you have known all of us over 10 years.
Yes.
I want to say for the people that's watching the playback, I'm probably watching live. Who are you? Tell us who you are and or how you came to be Spirit Traveler.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot. I'm gonna try and condense it. My name change happened during I was having a crisis in my family. I would say back in the early 2000s, and I went away with a friend of mine, and we went to a little retreat with she's a sister doctor, naturopath and homeopathic doctor, but she's a friend. So we stayed for a while, and it was time for me to have a new beginning. So she asked me to come up with a name for myself that I could use online. And I was in love with the color lavender. I was in love with the fragrance lavender. I was in love with lavender in general. And it was also the characteristics of the fragrance was also the characteristics of how I am. So I chose lavender. She said, okay, something else. And then I chose spirit because I love to dance, although I have not done much of it lately, but I love to dance. And so I came up with lavender spirit. And as I went through life and as life happened, as I transitioned through my divorce, my first divorce, I decided I wanted to use Spirit Traveler. Unbeknownst to myself, I had already named myself that, but I didn't remember. I put it as my signature in an email under the Lavender Spirit email. When, why, or how, I do not remember. I really thought someone had got into my phone. Into my email and changed it. I'm like, what is really going on here? So I started using Spirit Traveler. I was studying topology. I was doing a lot of self-healing. And the Spirit Traveler really took off as I began to use my gifts to heal in the ether, my family, my friends, and doing that kind of took on a life of its own, along with the fact that my nephew used to always call me Spirit. He said, can I just call you Spirit? I said, yeah, I like that. So it just caught on, and I enjoy being called Spirit. I accept the name Spirit. And although my government name is Lenora and it means the light, I like using Spirit Traveler. It depicts the who and what of me in totality, actually. Yeah.
I never knew that.
Really?
I just knew you as Lavender.
Yeah. and it caught on.
Lavender, yeah.
And I use lavender because I didn't want to have to use my name to refer back to who I was before I became. And so to create a whole new movement forward, I chose lavender, and it caught on, and most people were very receptive to it because lavender was really, really booming around that time. And that's how I got my name. And inside of all of that, it worked being a midwife and a doula because that was like one of the most used fragrances during pregnancy. Most used fragrances in general, but to be present as lavender all by itself made people very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mhm.
how that worked, you know, and having raised and raising 10 children and they all of their babies, which are my grandbabies, I've used that fragrance a lot to get a lot of my work done with ease. So Spirit Traveler would be considered one who heals
Mm-hmm.
and strives to be obedient to the instructions and guidance given, to share, to remind, and particularly to remind women who they are and remind them of where they come from and what they embody. And no need to have to, a lot of times we have to try to double up or get better or improve. And we came with everything. We just don't remember how to tap into it and bring it forth and make things begin to manifest for us. We find ourselves really, really being good at one or two things where we can do it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everything is a priority at any given moment. At any given moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me. That's who I am.
Well, what I
So-
can say that who you can do is sing your butt off, because you did a concert at my facility. You blessed that place so. Yes, you did. I said, ooh.
That is so, see, I just came across those pictures as
Did
well.
you?
Yes, that was the day that I think Mama Shu released her first song. I think Mama Sumara was there. Was it during the time I did my I did my birthday tribute there?
I think so.
Yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's one of those things I haven't done in a while either, is sing, but I do love to sing. I get a little nervous. I'm not as bad as I used to be in terms of being nervous,
Yeah.
but I do love to sing.
Well,
Yeah.
would you honor the Elizabeth in us putting you or creating something where you can sing?
I would be honored. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Now, you know, I only know 4 songs by heart. No.
Well, you wait, girl, wait. I gotta show you. Here they are. Here are people on stage. With this in the hand.
Lord.
Singing. I said, what are you doing? Or one girl, she got up there and she had this in the hand and Facebook people.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of singing to us who are out there,
Oh yeah, no.
she's with this in her hand.
Mm.
Now we have gotten ridiculous. I mean, put it somewhere and, and then people can watch it and stuff. I said, girl, give me the doggone thing.
Yeah.
That's why we need music stands, and that's what they made a music stand for. So you wouldn't have to hold your music. It will hold the cell phone very nice. It's got the ledge on it. You could rest it in there like that right there. It won't
Never
fall.
know you were looking at your phone.
What a difference.
Well, no, I mean, if you're gonna do an Instagram or Facebook or even a TikTok live, you need a tripod, because I'm like, even at arm's length, the phone is still too close to your face. It's like
You can prop it up against something. Come on now, we got all
right,
kinds
or
of
have
solutions.
somebody else hold it in the audience for you. Like,
We
You need a monitor. You need a monitor. Write the words down in big and print them out. Write the words down. They don't do that no more. Never mind. This is
no.
But it's like a disrespect to the people who are sitting there. You are to connect with me. I'm sitting in the audience, and this is so important for people who did not bring their asses out there to see
Right.
you, and so you are like etiquette.
Yeah.
We gotta make sure we let
Etiquette.
that be known when people perform. Can you we're not doing the you holding your phone thing. Do you want me to get a refrigerator, a whiteboard, blackboard? Because I do know how to write. No, they don't. I mean, they're not writing anymore. They texting and oh my good. Okay. Never
Oh,
mind.
wait. Oh, wait. Here's the one. No periods, no commas, no capital letters, just
Straight through.
just
I
straight.
might do that sometimes. I might do some of them. I might violate some of those sometimes.
Mhm.
I might.
It
So-
only happens for me if I'm voice texting without Grammarly.
Yeah, but I mean, just no, not at all. You got a paragraph out that long and not a stop anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a stop.
I used to do
anywhere.
that on purpose because I said I don't have to be grammatical. But you know, no, I would use my commas though. I would use my punctuation. But I won't capitalize. I started, you know, typing without doing capital letters because I wanted to violate the English thing. I was mad at that.
You was being a rebel.
At English. Oh, yep, I was being mad at grammar.
But that's how people talk nowadays as well. I mean, they talk, just run on. No pausing.
breathe.
Yeah,
That's why the meanings get misconstrued because of that.
absolutely.
Right there.
Absolutely.
The comma make a difference in your life.
We
I try to be not conform, but I just when I go, I just like, oh, period. You know, like they don't do cursive. They don't teach the children cursive anymore either.
no.
So they can't read.
Yeah, that's my thing. I used to teach handwriting in a couple of schools. Just to come in and volunteer, but it's so critical. Matter of fact, when I was raising my children, that was the first way I taught them to write, was to write in cursive, so that the print would come easy, you know, because they were used to the circles and the movement of the hand is going all over the page. So instead of trying to constrict their movement by circle line, I attempted to show them how to keep that flow with the pen, pencil, crayon, whatever they had.
Yeah.
In order to learn that. And using handwriting actually activates both sides of the brain because of the movement of the hand and how it's being used on the paper to pen to paper, and the movement of it. So I noticed the difference between the fast learning of my children using cursive as their first way to communicate on paper through words, versus printing. You know, and a lot of, and because we were so used to that way of being, a lot of teachers had problems with them knowing how to write in cursive first. When they came into the school, it's like, well, hold on. I'm their first teacher.
Yeah, I know that's right.
So if you're gonna try and unlearn or recondition them, let's start with what's really need to be reconditioned.
Well, maybe they need to be your assistants. You need to use the skill. I mean, it'll help. You could, you know, teach yourself a break every once in a while. Utilize these tools, these children.
And I used to go in and teach the class, and the children really, really enjoyed that. And then I slid in some numerology on them. So there's some numerology so they'd understand what their name meant.
Hello, let's work with our tools.
So yeah, and writing it in handwriting made them really appreciate their name more than printing it. And I think at that time I worked with a group of teenagers in middle school, or I've worked with the really young ones that were like between 5 and 7. And then I've worked with some adults even who just said, you know, my handwriting is chicken scratch. I was like, no, it's not chicken scratch. we're going to redefine it. And if you want to, it's not even about making it pretty, just making it legible. You know, if this is something you want for people to do, is read your writing and understand what you're trying to convey, just make it legible and enjoy it. It's not,
Because
it
it's
shouldn't be,
character.
yes, it
It's
shouldn't be
character.
arduous. It is, it really is. Yes.
I'm glad that you meant that, because a lot of people say that my handwriting is too fancy, that they can't read it. And
Is it curly and swirly?
it kind of is, but it's like, you know, I learned how to, you know, they told us when they taught handwriting to us, they told us that, you know, it's your personality, so make it part of you. And I'm like, I do my loops and
Yeah.
the curves and everything like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, now I'm like, oh my God, I can't read this. I'm like, okay, I can.
When
It's
I was
pretty. They be
younger,
like, it's pretty, but I can't read it. I'm like,
It ain't for everybody. It ain't for the people that can. You can't read it
I
because
know, right?
you're
It's
not
so
here.
crazy.
You're not here.
When I was younger, I wrote my name so fancy because it was Lenora Gray, Gray, and then the L was made so fancy and the G was made so fancy that I was waiting for this mail to come back from this pageant that I wanted to be a part of. That mail sat on that table for forever, and everybody kept saying, I don't know who this is. I don't know who this is. And I went back and looked at it, and it was Honora Cray. I was like, this is mine. This is mine. But they had mistyped it because my L and my G was so doggone fancy. I didn't even know that was me they were trying to reach out to. And Mama Evelyn, I don't know if you were trying to say something.
Ooh, y'all use that word.
Your mic is muted.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying that, I read to RJ from the time he got here. And so getting him to read out loud and to pause, and, I said at the end of a comma, you give a little pause. I said at the end of a sentence, you finish it. You don't run on to the next sentence. And he would get so frustrated. I said, when you're reading to someone, they have to understand where the breaks are. You just don't run on. So
Right.
that was interesting,
Yeah.
But he knows how to do cursive. He has a beautiful handwriting.
Oh, that's nice. I love it. It's really beautiful when men have a nice penmanship. It's
Ooh,
like,
see my dad.
where you come from? Who taught you? That's nice. I love it.
Yeah.
so I want to ask you a question. Which came first, you being a midwife or you being a doula?
In practice, me being a doula. In learning, I started out the gate learning what it's like to be a midwife. I was in 9th grade at Kettering High School. And I was in a child development class. And I've always loved children and babies. My sisters call me the baby whisperer. But I've always took people's children and took care of them and, loved them up. But when I got to the 9th grade, I was curious about how this thing works. How does this anatomy of having babies work? I wasn't clear, we come up as young girls, they tell us about the birds and the bees, but what is that really? So I just got a lot of anatomy and physiology books. I studied child psychology in high school. I worked at Merrill Palmer Institute in child development. The last 2 years of my high school training and throughout high school and college, I just studied on my own like crazy. Like I was on this one focus, one aim, how the babies come. And my first person that I sat with having a baby was in college. And I think I was about 17, but I knew so much about all of the workings of it that when I was in the room with her, it was a Jewish doctor. He came in and he said, what hospital do you practice at? I
Mhm.
said, I don't. I'm here to be with my friend. He said, well, you know so much about this. How long have you been doing this? I said, this is my first baby. He said, well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it works and you're getting her through this. And I was a really strong advocate then, not really knowing my power, not really knowing the power of knowing. And so it took a while for me to really choose after having, I think I may have been on baby numbers 5 or 6 when I decided I'm going to do midwifery. And I was trained or understudied with Charlotte Sanchez, Bridget, I can't remember Bridget's last name. I want to say, no, I don't want to say that. I want to say Gonzalez, Bridget and Valerie. Valerie's expertise was breech birth natural. I loved working under her. She worked out of Dearborn. Bridget, her thing was water births. It was another woman that worked with her named Rahima, who was a former OBGYN, which I really enjoyed working with her too. And she was a Muslim woman. And then Charlotte Sanchez was the main person that I worked with, who she knew from, I don't know, put some cabbage on your belly and your breast so that your milk can dry up if you don't want to, nurse anymore, to using tinctures in an IV to get women past the beta strap that they would like to treat you in the hospital with. She did tinctures right there in the birthing center. And she came from a family of midwives. One of her sisters worked in California at a birthing center. The other one worked in Saudi Arabia. And she working with women in circles like the Amish, Muslim, Jehovah's Witness, 7-Day Adventists, people like that, because they didn't want to go to the hospital. So working under her really helped to have me feel more free and liberated to do what I wanted to do, because I wasn't being prejudiced or anything like that. I just knew that I did not want to go to the hospital if they're going to make being pregnant a sickness and treat you like you're ill versus a sacred rites of passage for women.
Tell the
So
truth.
that switched a lot for me as I had children, and I had all my boys just happened to be born at home, and my last daughter, she was born in the car. We did not make it to the hospital. And she was born in the parking lot of the mosque inside of a Range Rover on the front.
Let me ask
She
you.
was ready for the road.
Oh, she's ready. She's been moving like that since. That's the one I told you. She's been traveling. She can travel more.
Are you serious? She is
That's
a
her.
Range Rover for real. That's all right.
So let me ask you a question. What do you think about what is it? The state of Michigan finally approving Medicaid doula services to be provided through Medicaid.
My personal opinion about that is it takes me back to history when the midwives in the South were delivering babies. And so much so that they being the government, could not keep up with the census because these women were delivering babies in backwoods. They weren't going to the hospital because they were not permitted to go to the hospital. Now they want to make it comfortable. Doulas have been available for a long time, and for Michigan to decide to provide Medicaid as a means for doulas to get compensated, to me, just based on history, it's a setup. It's a setup for, we want to control this. It doesn't leave room for us to do our thing. When they said that midwives had to work through a hospital, this is how they're directing it. Yes, I'm grateful that doulas can be compensated. I'm grateful that there are midwives in the hospital. But once it's like trying to be a good police officer. And once you join the force, your stuff get dirty. You can only say certain things. You can only do certain things.
Yeah.
I just I don't fully trust that process, because what happened is it came shortly after the pandemic when a lot of women did not go to the hospital, and they lost a lot of money because people were not going to the hospital. They were having babies at home. And as legit
as you were saying, it's like the whole hospital became a COVID ward. So who was going to that?
exactly. No, and that was their thing. It's you come out with more challenges than blessings. And when the medical industry, hospital institution
Come on now.
began to respect, number one, women, respect birth and the sacredness of it, and not try and play God besides God, then maybe we'll be willing to come back if you treat it as such. But when you don't, I recommend that women have their babies in the safest places and to possibly be where they were made, where they were conceived.
Hello.
And it's the most comfortable place. If it's not comfortable for you to be intimate with your mate in your home, why can't it be comfortable enough for you to deliver the very baby? The seed that you implanted in the very woman, that everything is, you're all used to this. You go to a foreign area in a hospital and come back with something, where if you're at home, you're already immune to almost everything that's there. So I know that there are circumstances where women can't have babies at home. I know that there are circumstances where women are physically challenged, where they don't feel comfortable having a baby at home. But it's more fear and ignorance than anything else. And I believe that when women really begin to empower themselves with the wisdom and knowledge of not only their bodies, but the beauty and the sacredness of giving birth, then this is going to turn it around. It's going to turn it. We take charge. Now they're trying to say that they're going to have a right to tell us whether a woman should be able to have an abortion or not. Now they really want to own us and have us make these decisions that are contrary to our will. I think that I'm not one for having an abortion. However, that is with the woman and the Most High, period. Not even the Father to a degree, because in the midnight hour, when you got to go and get that baby and nurse or feed or get their behind out of jail, most times it's mama doing that. And mama, when mama takes her rightful position back, then her power will be restored and more things will be in order when that happens. Not if it happens, because it's happening now, but as it begins to happen more, the households will change, because we've reversed our roles. We've showed up less than, we've taken on all the burdens of the world to make us feel like we're not good enough to be the empowered women that we are in our own home. When we change that, everything changes. The economic system changes, the political system changes, the religious system, institute change, everything will change, because we're the first. They would not know how to do any of those systems if it wasn't for the mother first being the first teacher for all of that, including doctors.
Holy Trinity.
Period.
The Holy Ghost. The Holy Ghost.
Period. Period. And I stand on that.
I think also, when I was born, I did not get a Social Security number until I was 14. And that's because I started work. Now you come out and you get a number.
Right.
Right. And I my understanding, I had gone to a class on sovereignty and stuff. And they were saying, so if you're in the hospital, because you were saying something, you mentioned census.
Yes.
So with that number, many do not know that they are what is that word?
Finding their
Trading.
rights and
They
their
are
freedom.
trading with our number. They are making money with our social
Yes.
security number and all of that.
Yes.
And so they are able to track us because of that number. And
Yes.
if you're in the hospital, they have all that control because then you're in the system.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're in the
That's
system and your baby
that
is in the
is that
system.
is the setup. That is the
You
setup.
you become their property too, and they
Exactly.
expect you to make so much money, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah.
yeah,
You
yeah.
belong to them
All of that.
when you get
All
your
of that.
social
Like I
security
said,
number.
it is a setup. It's a setup, and they're realizing that was the same thing with the braiding and stuff. You know
Yes.
nothing about that, but then you want to control that, and it
And
was
regulate. Yes.
and regulate that.
Because they couldn't get no money off of it. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And
so,
not only that, they did not want us to have control of our own money and have control in a way that is ours. That is
Right.
ours.
exactly,
You know,
exactly. Mhm.
no, I'm not.
Sharecropping. Still sharecropping.
Call me Pua or Shifra from the Bible, but I'm not that one. You know, I conform to a degree, but with all of what I've seen, I've been in many hospitals around the state of Michigan. Name one. And it's, excuse me, it's the same thing. It's the same bottom line when it's
Yeah.
all said and done. You can say, oh, they were really nice over here. That's because you complied. When you begin to tell them, no, I don't want this and I don't want that, and I would like this, and this is my birth plan. Oh, they get real funny, Sal. If you tell them I don't want my baby to have no needles, oh, the whole story changes.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Why would you do that? Why would you do that not to your baby? That's
right, and they call it child neglect, because I had two of my children in Missouri. It's the same across the board. Two of my children in Missouri, the rest of them were born in Detroit. Several different hospitals. It was coincidental. Other than my last daughter, all of my daughters were born in the hospital. I did have two sons preterm early. They were born in the hospital, and just those experiences alone, along with the ones that I've had being with women since I was 17 years old, has shown me a lot. And I will be 62 July 17th of this year, and I've seen a lot. And I didn't miss too many years. I didn't miss too many years not being by the side of women and having those experiences.
Yeah.
You know, with my fourth child and my second son, I trusted my doctor. And because he was on his own agenda and I came in preterm labor, he chose to call it and do a C-section. He gave me a C-section up and down. That's the one you don't get to have babies naturally after.
Yeah.
So I still felt with that was the setup. However, that's just me and my conspiracy theory brain.
Yeah.
However,
First of all, I didn't
realize
you were 62. I didn't realize you was in the eldership. Like I knew you were, but
I'm kidding.
Look, I did, but I didn't. But I'm like, wow, okay.
My children say, "Mom, you're elder now." I said, "No, I'm not. I become an elder when I accept the fact I'm an elder."
I'll let you know.
I'm just resisting, but I respect it, and I am going with the flow. I'll put it like that. I'm not as resistant to it because it's a beauty in that, and to try and forego it or hold off the blessings of being elder, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. And that's one of the other reasons why I'm choosing to do this class and choosing to take on this forward movement with training, not even training, because training is that I'm trying to control something, but sharing my wisdom and knowledge for women to unfold their own gifts and talents as doulas, to be by the side of women and for them to learn how to be self-masters of their own bodies and do it themselves. These last 3 births that I had as clients, if you will, felt comfortable enough to have their own babies without me, unassisted, with their mate. And all that I did was walk them through wherever they felt a need to call on me. I wasn't there. I wasn't on the phone like, okay, so what's happening next? I wasn't in that. Matter of fact, it was the pandemic that had me get started with being not there, but there. And that was one of the most beautiful births that I ever experienced, by way of a sister being guided by the sound of my voice, because we couldn't do Messenger, the phone was acting up, we couldn't do FaceTime, we couldn't do anything where I could see her, and I'd never met her before, and that was my first time for that too. And when her friend called to ask me if I would, I really, hey babe, I really had to go in prayer and ask, is this something I do? And Spirit was like, and why not? I was like, well, how far do I go? Do I just guide her, tell her what she should do, and then call me back when the baby's born? And Spirit was like, no, you're gonna walk her all the way through this. Wow. And I did, and it was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful experience. I have this gift that when either before birth, during, or somewhere before it happens, this portal opens up in my mind's eye, and I can see exactly what's happening wherever that thing is. And I saw everything, how she was laying in the tub, the color of the bathroom. When she moved from the bathroom to the place that she was to deliver the baby, I knew nothing, but that's what I saw, and I guided her according to what I saw. And then about 3 weeks after the baby was born, we met at our special park, and she showed me pictures, and I just got chills. I said, this is what I saw when I saw you in my mind's eye. This bathroom had the yellow and white tiles, and that is not the first time that that's happened. Once I get to a person's house, I said, okay, you want to have the baby out here, right? I was like, yeah. I said, well, I'm not trying to tell you how to do what you're going to do, but you're going to probably end up having a baby in this room, because this is how I saw it. And sometimes I'll wait, because a lot of women have this idea of how they want it to happen, but really it's the baby that dictates.
Come on, tell the truth, Mama.
And the scenario of it all. The baby is in charge.
Yeah.
The baby is in charge. We just have to surrender. We just have to surrender. And a lot of times we don't, because we want to control it. And I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want to be like this. And no, that baby will put you in a position where you be like this. And it's like, why is she bent over like that? Because that's the one thing that his head around that pelvic bone and get his back straight and his head to come out, you know, a certain kind of way, whichever way it is.
I don't know why spiritually, but I've learned with my training as a doula, that one thing, and like you said, the medical industry tries to control the birth, but both
y'all in that word.
Birth is supposed to be something that's uncontrollable. Like just let it happen. However it's going to happen, it's happen, and that's where you learn how to ride the ebbs and flows of it all, because that's what it is, ebbs and flows. It's like, wow, okay, so when you put it all together, it's like, okay, it's supposed to be, I mean, it's going to happen, but whatever happens, that's how it's supposed to happen. And
exactly. On every level, you know, and because the hospital is so gung-ho about intervening in the affairs of nature, involuntarily, or they volunteer without permission from the mom or the family, that's where the problems come in. And then they still use this ignorance and fear to gain the control of, I know better than you. No, you don't. No, you don't. I've carried this baby in this womb of mine.
Right. And you know, and I know my body better than you.
Exactly.
I know every pain. I know what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And, you know, I remember when I attended my first, and I know that intuition, because after I got doula training, I knew my first 2 doula babies were going to hit within 48 hours. And tell me why. My first 2 births were 48 hours apart. Like I didn't even get a chance to get rest and recovery from the first one before the other mother went into labor. And I was like, and I knew that, and I was at peace with that. I was cool. I was like, oh, okay, so this is how we gonna do this, okay? And I remember being at the second birth, and I remember the doctor telling the mom, oh yeah, we like to take the babies, what is it, 2 to 3 weeks before due date. And because it's easier for them because the babies are small, they're not big. So a smaller baby means an easier birth for the doctor. And I'm sitting here like, did I just hear what you say what I thought you said? And then also they like to doctors take their vacations in August. So if you ever notice how they try to schedule all the C-sections in July and then schedule them.
How you gonna schedule a C-section? That's some
because
bullshit
they want to go on vacation. Remember, birth is uncontrollable. So they want to go on vacation. So they want to have all their clients give birth at the convenience for them so they can go on a 30-day vacation and come back to work.
Yeah, it's a combination of things that happens. They want to take their vacation, but at the same time, they still want to get paid for work undone. They want to not only schedule the C-section, but the earlier you take the baby, there's still more money to be made on the back end because then now they got to go into neonatal. Neonatal has become a really big booming business in the medical institution, in the hospital institution, where they are having women to deliver or go by way of C-section early so that they can still get paid on the other end. And as long as that doctor can get his first check either with Pitocin or IV to IV, it's some money, but it's not as much money as Pitocin. It's some money, Pitocin, but it's not as much as epidural. It's not the anesthesiologist get paid most times more than the doctor himself. That is big business. I have a friend that's an anesthesiologist, and she got out of the business because it was just getting really ugly, wicked with how they used anesthesia in order to get paid, even with people that didn't need it, one, and most people are not trying to feel pain, so they're going to say yes. They will say yes while you're in pain. That is not the time to make a clear decision about what you need.
The rest of your life.
And so,
Mama, hey, go ahead.
Well,
just making me feel some kind of way. So
I know
when you were speaking about the
challenge, yes,
yeah, it is.
Okay.
When you were speaking about, I'm sorry.
No, Pam's hand has been up for quite a long time. So
sorry, sir.
No, I want Mama Het to go on because I was thinking about her father. When he was supposed to have his procedure and there was something about the anesthesiologist that wouldn't do her job or something like that.
What?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, I was just gonna say, I just wanted to comment on Spirit Traveler talking about the baby being born through the phone, coaching over the phone, because my doula, we were like that with Isis. She was coaching me over the phone. She said, wait till when you get close to the time, that's when I'll come. And so we did over the phone, like you were saying. So that's why I wanted to talk about that, because it was relative to what Lavender was speaking about.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things that has come to me as I practiced or did the work, because it's really not a practice. However, you do learn as you go, because the practice is to do techniques so that you become skilled in whatever it is. No one thing you will be repeating in the next birth. You may have a style, but it's not going to all be the same. A lot of people say, oh, well, I didn't do this and I need to do that, or do I need to do this? No. I said, there's two things for sure that I know a baby's on its way. Water and blood. Water and blood gonna come whether you want it to or not. That's what I need to see before you tell me I feel like I'm about to have the baby. And the only reason why the water may not come before the blood is because the baby is usually intact in the sac. And I've delivered some of those too, which is very beautiful. And they call them called babies, CHAULD, that have gifts of foresight, that have what they call, my mom used to call it the veil born over their face.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
Yes. But not most, all of the babies that I've witnessed being born wanted me to be present. And those that either I didn't make it to, or I was not physically present, just needed to hear the sound of my voice in the room while they were arriving. I promise you, I've had moms and dads call me and say, we want this. And then I'll tell them whatever that makes them change their mind. And they say, no, we're gonna not do it. We're not gonna do it. And then at the 11th hour, who gets the call? Me. And either I'm running over there. I see, you know how they used to have these, they probably still have them, fire chasers, where these men go out and chase fire. So after the fire, they can board up the house. I used to be a baby chaser. I used to chase the babies. Wherever the baby was being born, I was coming, whether I was invited or not. So I had to learn a lot as a doula, a lot of different things. And each of the moms have taught me many, many lessons. And even though I did all that studying, when I say I was studying like a maniac, when I was in college, I had a job working in the library in a processing room. And the sister that was over me, she said that any book you want, you can take it out. You can keep it as long as you want, but when you bring it back, then that's when you process it. So it seemed like, I don't know if it was the spirit God of pregnancy, learning and anatomy and physiology that was guiding me through this, but it seemed like that's all that was coming in at that time. How to have a baby, anatomy and physiology, how to do this when it comes to having children, I was just taking all these books home and I was just reading and learning and reading. And I think at that time, I was pregnant with my second child. He was a boy and I had him at home unassisted. It was just me and my husband, my younger brother and his younger sister. And we just decided we were just gonna have him at home. We didn't want to go through what we went through with my first baby at the hospital. And I was like, I don't care. I don't care. And when I say I don't care, it's not that I don't have a love and respect for hospitals. They serve their purpose and their place. And when they go beyond that, then they have violated personal space without permission. And I don't appreciate that. That's for anything. Surgery, even if you're not having a baby, your body is sacred and they don't treat it as such. And we don't treat it as such all times. So they feel they have a right to do that. Even if you got the worst insurance, even if you don't have insurance, as a doctor in integrity, you still have to care for the patient. And if that's something you're not going to do, then I would rather dismiss myself. This is me. Dismiss myself from that, go home and do what I got to do for me. And or if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. But I'm not going to allow someone that has no respect or love or appreciation for their work first, for themselves and not for me, to be doing whatever kind of work it is. Because even when my spirit leaves my body, I still want my physical body to be respected in a way where it's not some lab something. I had a sister, and I'm just making this last point. It's a sister, a dear friend of mine. She made her transition. And she was an advocate, 1 meal a day eater. She was raised Muslim. They took her, when the sisters and the coroner's office came to get her from the hospital, they had ripped her body so badly apart just to get organs and this and that and all of these things before they took her to the funeral home. That the first sister, because we do janaza, I have a trained in preparing bodies for funerals, and she called us and she said, sis, before y'all even come, I'm just going to tell you, it would be better that you all not come and let me just do that, because you will not be able to tolerate or stand seeing how they did your sister. I was so sick about it. And then one of the sisters said, I'm going anyway. But she was just like that. And when she told us what happened, I know now why brother, her husband, is the way he is in terms of, when you see something that's shocking and traumatizing, you kind of like off kilter a little bit. That can mess you up. And when he saw that, he really didn't have any voice because he was moving without insurance. And he had to wait almost 2 months before he could even have a funeral for her because he didn't have the finances. And it's the worst thing. And so when I talk about hospitals, it's not that I hate them, nor do I hate doctors, but I am a strong advocate of respect and honor for the human body and the human spirit.
And
And if you don't have that, oh yeah,
it's even worse after this. Ain't no after. It's even worse
right.
during this COVID thing. It's gotten even ugly.
Yes, and they're using that as a means to tell you who can come and go when it's time for you to go to the hospital. They say, oh no, only one person. Oh no, only two. Well, we are on code orange and we're on code yellow, and we have the whole unit this way, so only one person at a time. So they're using it to their advantage, misusing it to their advantage, unfortunately. And I just don't trust them because they're more about the bottom dollar than the preservation of human life. And I don't.
And that's the science. That's the science.
That's Queen Aduni. Yes, ma'am.
Let's breathe. And Pam, would you like to share? Patient star.
Goddess of beauty.
Peace, how are you? You know I love me some you. I sure do. It's good to see you.
I have two questions. However, I want to share first as to why I called her that. In 2014, when I had cancer, that's when I met her. Sheila introduced me to her, and she really helped me to get through it. And so I gave her that name, and she can't deny it because I won't let her.
Nothing she can do about it.
I was a little late coming on, so I hope you didn't answer this already. But there's two questions, and you can answer them any way you want. The first one is, have you ever had something happen when you're doing a birth in reference to the baby getting here? And the second one is, what caused you to walk in who you are?
Such good questions, Star. Yes, I want to say yes and no. I want to say yes and no with the first one in terms of having difficulty or a challenge. One of the things that I strive to do during the prenatal process, I'm not the average prenatal caregiver as a doula or a midwife. What I do is I get to know the mom and the baby and those that are going to be in her ear, so that all of those complications that we may come up into during pregnancy does not occur, and or we minimize it. Most of my time, if it's the request of the mom, I may measure her. I will feel and talk to the baby, but I don't do no poking and prodding and going in and out and doing all this stuff that's invasive. I just don't, because I honor and respect her space. That's sacred space. Everybody shouldn't be privy to touching these, I call them baby Jesus. I call them G-babies. Everybody shouldn't be privy to that, not even your doctor. Your doctor should not be trying to go in and out of you just because he needs to make money to use this probe or do an ultrasound or whatever it is they do. These are sacred beings that are choosing to come, and they violate us and the children before they arrive. And until we really get the fullness, we're talking about our future secured. We're talking about future secured. I've been against ultrasounds and C-sections and circumcisions and other things since I started having children, because it's their way to make money. they don't honor these body parts in the way that they are divinely designed to be used, to be cared for. So I had a challenge. However, it was in divine order, where it was a water birth. Baby came. The baby was alive. The baby just wasn't crying. The baby wasn't crying. The color was full color and everything. However, prior to us going into delivery, the mom and dad told me of a dream that her husband kept having about the baby. And she also stated after the baby did not make it, the baby did not make it because they chose to go to the, it's not just because, you know, there's a fine line between life and death, one. And I believe the divine is the author of life and death. I believe also that that baby chose to grant her her wish and her prayer, which was, I want to have a baby after a C-section. I want it to be a water birth. I want it to be at home. That was the extent of her prayer. And she was granted that. And then her husband and her had did a journey together and saw that the baby was not going to make it past the birth date. During the time that it was happening, they were saying, Spirit, what would you do if this was you? I said, I'm not going to tell you that, because if it was me, I wouldn't go to the hospital. If it was me, I would choose to say this and do that. But because this is what you chose and how you chose to do it, I have to respect what your next choice is going to be, because I'm not the author of life and death. And even when doctors and nurses intervene, they are still not the God of what makes that thing happen. And when we can remember that and respect that, we don't interfere in the process of the lesson for the whole. That's how I stand with that. I don't go to births with a whole bag of stuff. I used to, and still never use none of it. But the most important thing with me is that I stand in the space with my spirit to allow her to do her work and her guides and her help to come in and assist her. And if there is something that she would desire for me to do, then I'm available to do that. And there are some times where she may be in a space where she's not able to communicate what she needs. I know exactly where to go and what to do, only because I've made that that connection with the mom beforehand. I don't know if that covers what you asked me as the first question.
Yes.
And then, thank you. And then the second one is, it took me a couple of births to realize that this was not only my calling, but a gift. And I brought it in from past lives before. This is something that I've always done. So when I was doing all this crazy fanatical studying, it was causing me to remember. It wasn't that I even needed to study anything, because I was not that kind of midwife or doula. Spiritual doula and midwife is how I moved through this. It wasn't that I needed the technique. And I can remember coming out of a 7-gram journey. Inside of the journey, I asked, okay, so am I going to still do this thing? You know, I'm talking to Spirit like, okay, am I going to still do this? And if I am, what do I need to do? And the message was, you can do whatever you want, as long as you move in integrity and stay in gratitude. Permission granted. And I was like, what? I was tripping like, that's it? That's all it is? So, and one of the things that I've gathered in studying my past lives is there was one of my past lives where I was not in integrity. I was not in integrity doing the work. I was not in integrity spiritually doing my work. It was all for the tangible or financial or material gain. And that was part of the lessons that I chose to learn this time. So that's why when people ask me about the money thing, I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with no money. I don't want it. It's like I'm scared straight on dealing with money. So I leave that to the assistant or put it on paper so that we don't have to talk about it. But part of my lesson is to grow through it and grow up to it so that it's not that thing that's a thorn in my side, that I can still be compensated financially and compensated in any other way. But even when I was not being compensated either based on request or based on denial, I never went without. I was always being provided for because of giving of whatever I came to show up to offer. And so it took me maybe about 10 years or so ago. Yeah, it was 2011. I was incognito, hiding out in the bush. No, I was working at Goodwill's, actually in the health food store department, and a sister came in and she was like, "Oh, I just been done with the flu," and so I just went into like automatic mode, and I started picking this stuff up off the counters and off the shelves and put it in the bag. I said, "Take this and tell me how you feel in 3 days." She came back. You said, "Oh my God, Mama Lavender, oh my God." She said, "You gave me stuff for pregnancy and you didn't even know I was pregnant." I said, "I sure didn't." And we decided, because I talked to Akila, and we want you to deliver our baby and you can't say no, right? So I had to sit with that. And after that birth, that helped me to come through. That birth really shifted some things for me. And it went well. There were no complications. We just rolled with the time. And at one point, it was kind of like a thunderstorm, but it was more windy. And the wind came through and opened up this window at the top part of the dining room where she thought she was going to have the baby. And Spirit came in. One of her ancestors came through there, shifted that whole thing around. It did something to me because it was like, don't worry, this baby's on its way. She moved, walked around and moved into the bedroom, and she stood up against the radiator to deliver. That's why I say you can't plan it and expect for it to go exactly how you plan it, because in your mind's eye, this is what you want. The closest to the plan that you can get is deciding to breathe through, allowing your body to surrender to the process of what it's actually doing, and moving in the position that your body will guide you to do in order to make that a more comfortable experience for yourself. You know, and I'm not one to like just do all the pain. No, but part of the pain is part of the rites of the passage.
Right.
Because that gives you a greater appreciation for the baby once it arrives. And I think that there's nothing wrong with getting pain relievers. There's nothing wrong with it. You choose. The mother has the final say. That's what I stand on. But if you choose to breathe through and master the breath that brings and opens you up to bring that baby through there, when that thing is all said and done, ain't nobody tell you nothing about what you can or cannot do. Because when you can birth a baby to come through your entire body, a human being, can't nobody else do that but a woman. No one can birth unless they done made some other stuff up. I mean, artificial stuff. But no one can do that but a woman. And that's why I am an advocate for us getting, as women, the respect and the honor that we deserve, whether we have given birth to babies and they're living, but to have a womb all by itself, you deserve the honor and the recognition as woman, as feminine, as female, as girl, as daughter, as mother, as sister, period. To me, it's called bow down, because I got a womb between my legs. Bow down, and then not in an arrogant way, but everything comes from here. Everything, even the brilliant thoughts of men come from the womb of a woman, because we were their first God. And until we really recognize that, then we can truly stand in our position as women, as mothers, as God, goddess, the practice of God. That's all I stand on. That's what I stand on. And I'm so convicted in the highest form to this work that it's more so not just being there to catch the baby and be a witness of the gods that are coming forth, but to remind the women of our highest form of power and presence on this planet and beyond, because it is beyond. It is beyond, you know, and it's nothing spooky or weird. And we're starting to find out different life forms elsewhere. And the only reason that they can't communicate and we think it's scary and spooky and freaked out is because we just don't remember. We just don't remember. And we find ourselves leaning more towards this or that in outer space, or this or that on the planet, in the earth, underground, in the trees, in the caves, because we have been there. We've been in all these places. And it's the memory that needs to be tapped so that we can go back into it like the hard drive and pull it all up. There's nothing we can't do. Nothing we can't do. But because we've been so conditioned in this world to feel less than, not enough, I got sins to carry or bear. I gotta do this. Or I'm beating myself up because I divorced twice. Or I'm beating myself for whatever we did. Technically, we can do no wrong. Technically, we can do no wrong. Technically. Not that we should just be reckless in our behavior. But however, like my mother used to say, and not only this to the degree of it being a joke, but there's some seriousness to it. I brought you here, I can take you out. That's why everything of the feminine aspect on the planet is rebelling. The waters are rebelling. The earth is rebelling. Nature is rebelling. Feminine, because there's no respect, none for her. None for her. That's what I stand in. I'm sorry to get preachy, but that's what I stand in. And that's what moved me to stand in it based on my personal experiences and my lesson, my greatest lesson of feeling unworthy and realizing that I'm more than enough and not allowing people to impose that on me for fear of showing up too big, showing up small, taking less than, settling. I'm not settling anymore. I'm not showing up. If you can't stand the brightness of my light, please come with your sunglasses on, because I'm not dialing it down no more. I'm not dialing it down no more. Seriously. And I have so many times in the background, in the back, who don't call me up front. Even when I was a minister's wife, I sat on the back row. And not just because I didn't want to be in that position, but not just because of that. I wanted to be there because I got a better view of everything that was happening in the room. And I wanted to make sure that everybody was secure, not just the big names, but the small names, but the people that don't even know where they are. Don't treat them like that. They don't even know. So my reasoning for doing things is a little different, unorthodox or whatever, but I'm an advocate for women. I'm an advocate for feminine energy. I'm an advocate for birth. And it is not even about getting it right. It's not even about that. It's about getting it done the way it's best for you. Best for you, because your body is different from every other woman on the screen. And you know what you can tolerate, and you know what you can't. And so when you can get that, then you know what you're worthy of doing. And when I say tolerate, you know, some people say, oh, I can take pain. Birth pains are totally different. And the after pains are totally different from that. And if you don't learn how to work that breath, yeah, you'll be singing and dancing a whole nother tune. You know, so it's critical for women to become familiar with their bodies and why we are and who we are the way we are. I hope
Queen
that
of
answers
Junie,
your
your
question.
hand is up.
Thank you.
Unmute yourself.
Lavender, you mentioned about one of the sisters knowing how to deal with a breech birth. Were
Mhm.
you ever present, and where can you explain how she did that?
I sure will. And yes, I was blessed to be present. That's why I'm just so excited. Okay, so it was my bestie, one of the sisters in the mosque, and this was her first birth.
Wow.
And I had been walking her through just the whole prenatal with her and her husband, because they came together, met, and engaged at the restaurant, the Garden Gourmet.
Mhm.
And so once they got married, and I was a part of that, and singing and dancing, singing and dancing and cooking for everything. And they were going to a regular doctor. And so by the time she got to 8 months, they were saying, okay, we're getting ready to schedule you for a C-section. And she was like, no, you're not. And they were like, yes, we are. And her husband was there, and he didn't know what to do because this is his first baby. He immediately called me, and I said, well, it's your choice. You can either stay there and get bombarded with all of whatever they're about to tell you why it's so important and how you're going to be neglectful if you don't stay to get it done, or you can leave. So he left. I called my friend, Bridget. She said, well, Valerie is over at such and such, and it was in Dearborn on, so I think it was off of Greenfield near Ford Road. And we all met over there for the first time. She gave us a walkthrough. It was a birthing center. That's when we were able to have freestanding birthing centers and not having to be attached to a hospital inside of the other side of the wall of death. So we go, she walked us through. She told her what was going on. When she went home, they gave her different positions to try to get the baby to turn. Now, Charlotte would have helped her to turn the baby, but she was trying to get her to turn on her own. She didn't. Some babies want to come out, ass first. They do. And so when we got there, she said, okay, the only thing different about this birth versus head first is that once you get to 10 centimeters, you have to hold it. Even when you get the urge to push, you have to hold and you breathe through it so that the opening stays open and not just, it's a muscle. So everything is opening, closing, opening, closing. And you have to breathe through it. She said at least an hour, staying at 10 centimeters and breathing through it. After she did that, she had her scoot to the edge of the bed and began to push. And she was blessed for her feet to be up, legs up, and butt came out first. Because sometimes it's foot presentation, sometimes it's an arm coming out, or it's hip. But because of all the rocking and moving that she did prior to that, she was able to get her straight, but butt was still coming down. And the beauty of how babies are born in between that is there is a rites of passage with babies. When they go through the canal and their head is squeezed through the vaginal canal and it comes out through the ring of the opening, it's a process that happens. And I'm gonna share that. So when she came out butt first, I kid you not, out of all of the babies that I have seen being born, the breech birth babies are significantly gifted because the squeezing of the head causes something for them to forget what they're coming here for. So they have to go through the early part of their years to remember their assignment, their personal assignment. But when the breech babies come, they don't get the pressing and the squeezing of the head because the butt comes first. So in that breathing, butt presented first. She's at the edge of the bed, so gravity is working for her. She was on an angle, but at the edge of the bed where it was right there. When her butt came out, she pulled one leg out, bloop, and pulled the other leg out, bloop. And then she said, okay, now I need you to breathe. And then when I tell you to stop breathing or pushing, I need you to stop, because she needed to check if the cord was still wrapped around the baby's neck. Once she realized that it was some gift to the cord because the belly's already out with the cord already attached, she slowly flipped her backwards onto her chest, and her head and everything else came right up out of the opening. I was so done that day, but I was so well trained that day at the same time. It ain't gonna always happen like that, but that could have not been as close to a perfect breech birth that I'd ever seen. And I had a breech birth.
Baby, she flipped the baby on.
When you know how, okay, so baby's face down.
Yeah.
Baby's face is to the back of the mom. She's at the head of the bed. And as the baby's coming down, the belly is still at the bottom facing the floor. She flipped her backwards up to the belly. As she flipped her backwards up to the belly, the head came out chin first, right up here, and put her on the belly.
Okay.
And put her right on the belly. She started crying, and a couple of things happened. She did have to get what do you call that cast when you got to get your hips? They say you got to get your hips broken, because they said it was something that did not happen during labor. The way she was born, it didn't do whatever it was supposed to do if she would have came out vaginally. Mm-hmm. And then you have the babies that are sunny side up, where they're looking at you coming out the womb. They're like, I want to see my mama's face. Those births take a little longer too. And they're different children. Each way that a baby comes out, they're different, because their struggle to come through is different. And so you begin to see the uniqueness and the different types of children and the way they are born. And the same for C-section babies. They don't get the push or the pressure or nothing. They got clear memory of everything when they come through. When I say clear memory of everything, and they are very sensitive. See, they didn't get that. They didn't get the pressure and the squeeze and the working and the time coming through, versus just getting cut and being lifted up out of the belly. Mm-hmm. Yes. So they're very sensitive, and you might find them to be very needy for touch, for nearness to mom. So I suggest any woman that has a C-section, breastfeeding should be their number one thing to do. A lot of women don't want that, all of that, with what comes with birth. And I've seen women say, oh, just throw all that away when it's over. I'm like, no. This is all sacred. They're looking at me like, what the fuck? This is all sacred. You want to keep the placenta? You want to keep some of your blood? You never know when you have to use these things. Preserve it, put it in your freezer, honor it, set it aside. You'd be surprised at when you have to use the energy of blood, and not even consuming or anything like that. But if you need to do magic work and spell work for your children, you can use the blood that came from the time they were born. If you got to use magic work on yourself, on their dad, you can use the blood that came from the birth of the child. And it's not a spooky thing. It is the most powerful thing you can use to get the results that you desire.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful thing, but a lot of women, it's like they don't do blood, they don't do periods, they don't like periods, it's something about there's a level of shame to it, a level of nastiness to it, a level of dirtiness, and it's because of how we've been indoctrinated. Yes.
I'm going to say, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because in my spiritual journey, my whole viewpoint about, like you said, menstrual blood is totally different. It's like, it's like, it's the most powerful thing that comes from our bodies. And I don't know who I was with, but I fertilize my plants.
Yes.
With my menstrual blood. Like, I'll be honest. I'm just honest. We are in a sacred space where we can share that. So yeah, I do fertilize because I heard it was a great fertilizer, and it is.
It is.
I think because
and those plants will love you so much. Yes. They will love and honor you.
I think because I use a cup, and I actually collect my menstrual blood, just because of the type of device that I use. Yes. I don't use tampons or pads anymore. I actually have a cup, and I love it because it's just different level. There's a difference. And the plants do love me. There's a difference.
Mhm.
But like, I'm not afraid of my own blood no more. I used to be, but
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm
Mhm.
not. And like I said, Black women, we are the closest things. We are the, Black women is God. And I'm like,
Yeah.
when you think about that, you think about I'm just like, you know what? Okay. But Mama Hit has got her hand up.
Let me finish my thing and then I'll turn it over to your mama. What about eating the placenta? There was a woman, a friend of mine, a white girl, and she posted that that's what she was about to do. She had a baby and she's going to eat it, and there was all kind of controversy
I'm
about
sure it was.
what.
I'm sure it was.
What is all of that about?
What it's about is that placenta is the most sacred thing in the body between you and your child, your baby.
Mm-hmm.
It was produced by everything you consumed. And when the mom takes a piece of that placenta and eats, she can eat it raw and eat it raw. When she eats it raw straight after birth and it's detached, because I've had a few moms that do the lotus birth, which they leave the placenta attached to the cord until it dries, and then they do the detachment, or it'll fall off by itself. They take that fresh. Now, the difference that I've witnessed between the mom that takes it fresh and the mom that goes to get it dehydrated and use it as encapsulation, placenta encapsulation that she can use throughout the rest of her postpartum. Mm-hmm. One is, it's such a beautiful, immediate snapback. It is natural. It allows you, one, to get your energy back. You feel like you're in a state of euphoria after you have a baby, you're in an altered state anyway. And then it's like, woo, and you get this big heavy letdown, like, I'm zapped, and it's just out of sheer adrenaline that we even have enough energy to put the baby to our boob. Just out of sheer adrenaline and excitement. But when you can take a part of what you have carried in your body for the whole 9 months or however long the baby has been with you, take a piece of that, the hormonal system recalibrates and resets itself. It activates even faster the production of the production of the milk flow. Mm-hmm. It gives a nice balance to that, outside of all of the other interventions that they would encourage you to use or do if you were somewhere else other than home. And when I say home, I mean outside of those facilities and institutions. But I've had 1 or 2 of my babies in somebody else's house by design, and then the other one was because it's just how life showed up. And then even after the lotus birth, based on the mix that you preserve the placenta with, you can still use it for encapsulation. And it really aids in the adjustment process hormonally for women, and rehealing the womb as you go through your healing process after the baby, because of the minerals and the proteins and all of what it holds, and even the spirit that was contained there while carrying that baby gets you through better than, I'm just gonna wing it and maybe I'll give you some kava kava or some valerian root or St. John's wort. Those things work to a degree, but not like the placenta. And a lot of times we get grossed out, but I know half of us were not raised as vegetarians, and we didn't eat somebody else's meat. And we didn't eat somebody else's meat. We didn't eat somebody else's organs. And then something else, some other.
Yeah, another species organ, not even a human. Yeah.
So when people get grossed out, it's because we've been misled in believing the sacredness of the who and what we are. And this is a part of the remembering process that I'm talking about. Wow. When it comes to birth, when it comes to honoring yourself as a woman, and all of those things. And even as women who have gotten into the phase of menopause and post-menopause, we still have the energy of the divinity of the releasing of the cycle. We just have to start charting how we move through our months to see where that time would be. Because you have some times in the month where you are more irritable than other times. It is still there. We can still access it, and we can use it to our advantage to empower the wisdom and the insight that we're offering to either our gifts and talents or to our children or to the world. It's still there. At one point I was really like mad at myself because I didn't know most of that in the way that I know it then.
Yeah.
And it was probably like 2013, 14, 15 as I went through my transition. And I was still kind of in that uncertain, spooky stage of things. So I didn't really do what I know I can do now. But I also stay connected with my daughters and my daughter-in-laws when they have their babies, because that's a part of me as well. And I use it. I don't consume it, but I save the encapsulations for later. That's one, for them or their baby. And I use anything of the remains with their permission if they ever get into a space where they need a deep cleansing or a deep spiritual enlightenment or awakening or something like that. Then I use it on my altar to do whatever I need to do on behalf of them with their own blood. So.
Wow. Mama,
Yeah.
did you do that? And then I'm turning it over to you.
Yeah, Mama, spirit traveler, you just touching on something. I mean, I'm just going back through my birth again with Isis. It's just so fun. I'm really in deep here. So for the placenta, I remember when after I had Isis here at the house, my doula midwife, I don't know what she was. It was Heather. She was with me. Well, she was over the phone, and then when things got closer to time, she came. But when after I delivered Isis, she said I want you to turn the placenta inside out and check it for spaces, because if there would have been any spaces, that would let you know that there are some challenges or whatever. So I checked it and it looked really good. But when I had a miscarriage in 2006, I was bleeding. I mean, I kept feeling faint and passing out. And so, and I had quite a bit of blood passing. And Heather told me that if there was a complication, to eat it, because it would also help stop that from happening. And so I was in they left me in the room by myself, and I'm so glad they did. I was in there thinking I'm losing my mind. I was like, you remember what Heather told you? Take something, because I could not hold it together because I need to go to the bathroom. And every time I sat up in the wheelchair, I was passing out. So I was like, remember, and it came in my mind. Heather said, eat some of the placenta to stop the blood, and it did. I was like, oh my God. I said, I hope I don't have no blood left on the side. They're gonna think I'm losing my mind in here. It's really a mental something.
Wow.
But to know that is the life sustaining force that lives inside of us, that helps sustain and maintain and help a baby come forth. Yes. We've eaten things that are far. We didn't even know what we were eating, the fecal matter of bugs to make stuff a certain color and all of that, blah, blah, blah. You didn't even do no research. Never.
Right.
But just talking about knowing what to do for the body. I had a friend who had gotten pregnant by this young man, and his family was adamant. I didn't know if they knew he was a demon or what, or he's a king or whatever he was. They kept telling her, don't have this baby, don't have this baby. And she was like, heck, what should I do? I said, let me tell you this. I said, I cannot answer that for you. I said, but you talk to God. You let the Creator know, or Most High, speak with them, and whatever's supposed to be will be. I said, because she was like, should I get an abortion? I kept saying, I can't answer that. I said, you just ask the Most High to do whatever needs to be done, and the baby aborted. It was aborted. Naturally, I'll say. The pregnancy terminated. Let me say that. The pregnancy terminated on its own, but we have no idea how magical and mystical and profound these bodies are. When Heather was my person, She gave me books and I read like crazy. That's why I feel like I'm an expert now. And I can say I'm an expert.
Right.
So I feel like I was very empowered. And like you said, I feel like there's nothing I can't do after
Yeah.
having access. And then
Yes.
I'm just watching her as she grows, because this month she'll be graduating from college. So me having her birth story right now and thinking about this is just all coming full circle.
Yes. Yes.
It's
Yes. And
just such
yes.
a beautiful, 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 beautiful experience. And I wouldn't change it for the world. The way it
Yes.
happened and how it went down. I'm just so grateful.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. What I would
Mama
also,
Lavender.
I'd
Oh,
like to address really quickly, just really quickly, if you don't mind. And for women who have had a hysterectomy or partial hysterectomy, inside of your working with yourself, one, leave room for forgiveness. Two, you still have the power. Because even though it may not be there physically, it is there energetically.
Mhm.
And it's even more powerful to be able to take the energetic space that is apparently void and use that to give birth to ideas and wisdom and spirit and new mindset and consciousness and focus. Oh, you can do some stuff. So I say to any woman that has partial hysterectomy or full hysterectomy, or have found themselves not being able to have children, or have found themselves not wanting children, forgive yourself now, because it still does not take away your divine power as a woman and feminine energy.
Even
Period.
abortions.
Even abortions, yes, ma'am.
Mhm.
Even abortions. Because we are the goddess of our universe. And when we begin to hold ourselves accountable for everything that comes in and comes out, then we can have more honor in that when it does occur. Versus, I'm just mad at the Father, I'm not ready, and I never did want this. No, forgiveness is key. And once forgiveness comes, gratitude immediately after that. Immediately after that. And then find a way to stay in that area, because it is a blessing. There's always a lesson inside of any kind of blessing, trial or lesson.
Yeah.
So, and those are the kinds of things that we beating ourselves up about because of this, and oh my God, and no, that was your journey. This was my journey. This is her journey. But there's a blessing in all of it for us as women, as feminine power, and as goddesses. Goddesses. Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Mhm.
Danielle, you was about to say something?
I was going to ask, I'm glad that you touched on, what is it, menopause. My question is, when, as a doula, because we're known to actually help assist, bring in life, how
Mhm.
does that role changes when, like you said, the baby, doesn't stay for a period of time, there's a loss, stillborn, or the baby, leaves early, or
Yeah.
even there's a miscarriage. So how does your role change? Because now, there's the life part, but now we're dealing with
Yeah.
how does that, so
Believe it or not, it stays the same. I've been present for women who gave birth to stillbirth, had stillbirths, for women that had miscarriages, and I've been there for women who had abortions. But the process is still the same. Breathing, there's going to be water and blood of some form, and you walk them through it, not beating them up about what just happened because they say you took a life. Do you know that animals naturally eat their babies when they can sense that that baby's not good and sufficient enough to come through and live? They eat them, or they drop them, or they bury them. It's a natural process. But we've been conditioned to believe that, oh, you've taken a life, and oh, you don't know what that baby could have been. No, we don't. And maybe we did. And that's why we didn't bring it forth, because we are never guided not knowing. There is a knowing. It may not be at the fullness of your conscience, but it is a knowing. You are nothing ever happens to us without a warning. Nothing. Now, the key is, do we pay attention to it?
Yeah.
There's always a warning. There's always a warning for death. There's always a warning for life. There's always a warning for something that's about to shift. It's rather we're paying attention to our first mind, our dreams, the things that people are saying around us that's connecting dots, stuff we watch on television, things that just keep reoccurring on our feeds, how the weather has shifted, the way the wind might blow into your room and it ain't no wind outside, the ancestors coming through there like that. It's how we pay attention to the warning and the guidance. And it's never really a warning. It's like guidance and wisdom that we're getting beforehand so that we can kind of handle the situation better, especially for women that have gotten abortions. Because trust me, you still a woman, that womb has produced the wisdom in you going without that you have to offer to other women, to your husband, to your sister, back to your mother. They may not be present to carry your physical seed, but we dropped some seeds, laid some eggs, plenty of places. We've laid eggs plenty of places, and that's a part of the gratitude of all of this inside of acknowledging and honoring this vessel as woman, female, feminine, mother.
Evelyn?
Yes, I wanted to know because I don't think I went through a transition. It was very smooth, I didn't have hot flashes, none of that. It was just, it was, and it wasn't. I think, I just remember an older lady who was a friend of mine saying that that's the way hers went. I said, that sounds cool. I think I want that.
And you called it into existence.
Yeah.
Period. Really?
Yeah.
And you said just to think that you wanted with the intensity of the desire to have it, you called it into existence. And that's the other thing about us and our words and our tongue and our feelings behind what we give through our mouths is what we create before us. And when we walk into it, so that whole warning, giving you a heads up, we know. We may not want to accept it, but we do know. It's just how we choose to recall what we've created before us. That's where any people say, well, what about this? And what about that? And how would I have known that? No, you created some stuff. You created where you're living right now. You've created the kind of work you're doing, the way you're doing it, the quality of man that you're engaged with, the quality of woman that you're engaged with, whichever one you have had these experiences with. This is what you have agreed to in advance. Either you spoke it, you thought it, you felt it. And the feeling was probably stronger than all of the above. And that's why you are where you are right now. This is just my perspective based on my experience. Some stuff I've read, but based on my experience and understanding the human nature and how this world has made us to believe that we have to believe in something outside of ourselves to guide us through our lives. That sovereign that so many people want to get to, we are sovereign. We are sovereign. There is a collective force, but it's not collective without you and I and them as a part of that divine. There's no singular one divine out there that we just give our sole focus to. There are different people. Like you got two mothers in the same household you got a sister and a brother, but they all had the same daddy. It's a collective thing. There's no disrespect to this mom or that mom, this priest or that pope or this minister or this guy or this Buddha. Is no disrespect. They all come from the collective source of what we have called into being. That's just from my experience. Nobody told me that in my ear. I haven't joined no secret society, but that's what happened. You know, when people start hearing stuff that they're not used to hearing, because we got to break this crap that we've been conditioned to believe. That's why we're on the journeys we are. We get so independent. We're doing some stuff that's way off the cuff that look like, oh, she didn't went there, because we're not used to just doing our thing, whether it's collective or together. We're not used to it. And so when people see us doing that, they're like, I saw Spirit Traveler, but she was on some other stuff the day I heard her on Zoom, because they're not used to hearing me speak about it the way I do. I've always spoken a little different, even when I was practicing observing fully as a Muslim woman in Islam. And I give credit to that as part of the stepping stone to my fullness and my awakened moments in it. Because when I was practicing and living, attempting to live the life, I was walking in fear. The same fear that they told me in Catholic church. If you do this, God gonna get you. If you do that, you're gonna be in trouble. And if you go here, this is what's gonna happen. And the same happened in Islam, just in a different way. And there's no way there can be a God that wants to scare you into believing and to scare you into worshiping. Who wants to worship somebody? I didn't want my children to worship me, and they scared because I'm telling them, if you do this, I'm gonna beat your behind. No, that's slave master crap. Like, really.
Right.
And so I did some different things with my children. And we're trying to break all these chains, but we keep reproducing and redoing over and over the same mess that we were taught and trained as slaves.
Right.
You know? So sorry, I'm just I'm on one today.
That's okay. That's fine.
I want to ride on that. Mom, wow, Lavender, you're bringing up so much. I want to ask your perspective, and anyone else. We say that, we've always been, always was, always will be. And in deciding to come to Earth, that was a decision that was made before coming here, right?
Yeah.
Now, well, no, I'm not going to share that. When there's abortion, when there's miscarriage, when there's stillbirth, what is the baby's part in that? I've dealt with all three. I didn't have, not the stillbirth, but I have a son. I had a miscarriage. That was the first. I've had abortions with okay. What were, and let me throw this in here. When my sons, the last, okay, when his last, I don't even know what to call it. She's like a daughter-in-law to me and everything. She's a little tiny person, and she got pregnant with twins. And she has, she deals with, what is that, Pam, that she deals with? Sickle cell. Okay. So it came to a point where it was hard for her to carry the babies, and she had to make a choice, her or the babies. And when the babies were being aborted, I talked to them. You're going to go through this and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. We love you, mommy loves you, but you're about to experience this.
Yes.
Okay? So I want to know with what kind of conversation, what is it? And I don't want to say, I want to use the word responsibility. But what was the baby's part in that decision to be aborted, in that decision to come out before or the miscarriage or the stillbirth or to make it here? Fame made it here.
The beautiful thing about new life is they are more in tune than we are. And they have agreed they have chosen us. So it was part of the agreement. It was even though you think, oh, I don't like this brother, I'm not having no children by him, you think that you did all of that. You know, like really like that technical stuff. No, you called forth and you were on a certain kind of frequency that brought him to you. That also created the frequency for this new life to come, but it was an agreement, baby and all. The agreement was, I know I'm not coming for the whole cycle. Boom. I'm gonna give mommy this experience and I'm good. I'm out of here. It's like angels, you know, the people that show up when you're in line and they just show up and pay for your stuff, and then you look around, you can't find them no more.
Right,
It's
right.
like that. They're like that. They show up to give you the lesson or to answer the prayer that sometimes we forget we prayed for. It may not, all the circumstances may not been there that looked like this was going to be a blessing if it came out in its fullest. But we also agreed inside of that prayer to have a certain kind of experience. And those babies come to give the experience, whether they're stillborn, whether they're miscarriage, whether it's preterm labor than death, whether it's abortions, whether it's C-sections, however it is, it's an agreement in advance, an unspoken agreement. Nothing is gone, nothing happens without a knowing. Nothing happens without a knowing.
Wow.
It's an agreement in advance for the experience to occur. So that's why when women are just really heavy laden in heart about an action or a deed that they did, no, you are the guidance of your universe. Regulate your affairs of the heart. And the best way to regulate the affairs of the heart is through not only forgiveness, because that's kind of like that thing that we've been conditioned to believe too, but gratitude removes everything. Gratitude restores, gratitude heals. When we truly are grateful for the process, even though it hurts like hell to lose a baby, it hurts like hell to have to think over and over again, oh, my baby would be 10 by now. And it was a boy. I could have had grandchildren. No, that hurts like hell. But when you can say thank you for showing me this lesson that I got from this, and now I can do this, then I'm grateful. Gratitude will heal wounds that you never thought would heal. Same for the twins and the sickle cell.
Yeah.
Because we have been conditioned to believe the doctors and everything that they say, we forget that there is a higher source involved in how this thing regulates. If, I'm just saying, and this is just a scenario, and I'm not saying that anything she did was wrong, because that was her contract with that situation. That was her agreement with that situation. But if it were me, and I had sickle cell with the who and the what that I am, I probably would have been researching everything that I needed to bring about a balance so that that baby would come through.
And
And
the second baby did, the one now, he did not do.
That's great.
The other ones
And
were
did that baby came after the twins.
yes.
She got some lessons. She learned some lessons. She learned some lessons. And so inside of even the sickle cell or whatever challenge we have, low blood, high blood pressure, diabetes, I don't like men, I don't like women. Those are all issues that can have an effect on how the baby shows up, when they show up, whatever it is. And none of it is bad. It's that part of your lesson that you have to work inside of that's going to make it work for harmonious enough for you to live with yourself and be okay and stand in the gratitude of it. Yeah. All of that, all of it. I don't care what it is. If you love 6 men at one time, stand in the gratitude of it and be yourself. Because evidently there's something they need, and it's something that you're getting from that. It's not just haphazard. But if we don't understand it, oh, we can be called a whore, we can be called a slut, we can be called a beast. Because I can be a beast, like for real. Not 6 though. Not 6 at one time either. I'm just saying, when you honor your sexuality, when you honor your heart and what you believe it needs, and if it don't work out, don't get bitter or upset with it. Honor the lesson in it. Give thanks for it. Help it to fortify how you're going to show up next time around. How you're going to show up for this next experience that you're about to create. But if you stay in a certain frequency, you'll have that repeat cycle, that loop. They just show up, different day, same energy, same vibration, different face. Oh, I love him. He fine. But he act like the same last ratchet one that you just was wanting to hang from a limb 3 months ago. And then giving yourself time to reacclimate and reset. Sometimes we get going in and out of relationships. Same for having babies. I didn't give myself time to reset after baby. I think I had each one of them were maybe anywhere from 10 to 16 months apart, straight through until I got to the second to the last birth. And I said, okay, God, I just need a break. I need it. I'm asking for 5 years. I was very specific. I said, I need a 5-year break because I want to be able to exercise. I want my body to be able to do some stuff instead of having a babe on the boob and a babe in the uterus and one hanging on my leg. I just really need it, and out of gratitude and out of a desire to just have me. I just wanted me, big belly, saggy breasts and all. I just wanted me. And so I granted it, evidently, called it into existence. I actually intentionally made that announcement in front of what they call the MGT class at the mosque, in front of the women. And I was joking and talking about it because I know I was having baby after baby and I really needed a break. 5 years to the day, one of those sisters called me on the phone and said, hey, Sister Lenore, how you doing? I was like, I'm good. And so much had happened in between time. So I'm thinking she called to gossip about something. So I'm a little on the defensive alert, you know. She's like, no, I just wanted to call if you had any news you want to share. And I was like, why do you say that? She said, sister, do you remember 5 years ago what you asked for? And you ain't had no baby since then. I was just calling to see if you were pregnant yet. And I was like, I don't think so. A little did I know, 3 weeks later, it was a baby. And it didn't come in the 3 weeks. That's when it was revealed that I was pregnant after the 3 weeks. And that was my baby girl. Between Naima and Najma, I was granted a 5-year break. And to the day that I requested that, in my understanding of the God, calling it forth and creating the path for it, that's when that sister called me and asked me if I was pregnant. And I was like, nah, I don't think so, you know, because I was loving myself not having a baby and not having to nurse from anybody, anybody nursing from me. And sure enough, I was pregnant. And that's that one, Najma, that is like lightning that was born in the Range Rover that came through. She came through. She's like, And it's funny because she heard everything going on and she could hear all her brothers and sisters and all this stuff going on. She came out the loudest baby I ever had. She was going to make sure she was heard. She was going to make sure she was seen. She was going to make sure she was the star. And Minister Farrakhan named her Najma, and it means star. So she was that before he gave her the name. Then he gave her the name, which agreed with her personality, and she showed up as such. And that's that. I didn't know that then, nor do I fully take credit for it in my not having the fullness of knowing. But with hindsight, that's one of those things that if we think about anything we decided we want to do and we're determined about it, that thing happened like, and even though you say, I can't even believe this happened. No, just sit a minute for it. Sit with yourself for a minute and you will see that is what you created. You created that puppy. You created that baby. You created that gift. You created that God, that situation. You manifested that just right man, that just right woman, that perfect baby that knows you better sometimes than you know yourself. Because they come on the answered prayer. the ones you forgot you prayed for before their arrival. Seriously.
Wow. Now,
Ser-
3 of mine have shown back up.
Mm,
3 of my abortions have shown up.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. And one, I know why they are here. I mean, I know
Yes.
the father of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I've seen it. It came through another, but that was the one that I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So who is Danielle?
Uh-huh.
Came back through. Because I wanted
love
the
it.
girl. I wanted the girl. That was the only one that I mean, of course, my
Mhm.
son is here and the miscarriage, but the abortions was the little girl. I said, I know that was my girl. I know it was my daughter,
Mhm.
but then I chose to abort.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, life is just so wonderful.
Yes. Yes. And
Mama,
as it returns, as the memory returns to us, honor and celebrate. You're a whole nother kind of woman now. Inside the memory of the blessing.
Yeah.
Honor it and celebrate it. You know, when my 2 boys did not make it past a day and the other one made it into a 24-hour period, I chose to name them. And I chose to honor them. And sometimes, depending on the circumstance, I might mention them in the lineup of my children, because they played a role in my being a mother and the quality of mother that I am. So I cannot forget, them that helped me to be a better kind of woman. Also, in my journeys, I found out that one of them is my personal guardian angel, which I didn't know until it was revealed to me. And it's like, oh, okay. Because the first boy that came by way of C-section, his name was Emmanuel. And the second boy that came and he expired right after he was born, because the cord was wrapped around his belly 3 times. I named him Kadir. And he's that one that's my guardian angel. So anytime a certain thing is happening, I was like, is that you, Kadir? Listen, I've been talking to spirit. People might think I'm crazy, but it's just a thin line, because once you adjust your eyes, you can see your people. You can see your people. And those who got the sight will see them coming in the door with you, and you'd be wondering, like, why they acting like that? Because you came with your crew. And they ain't backing down about respecting you or respecting what you're coming to represent. They're not backing down. They're coming in with you, all of them, including the 3. They're coming. They honor you. They honor being able to be a part of you for a short period of time. It's okay. They ain't mad. They agreed. Look, they agreed to be with you. Absolutely.
Mama Head, you had your hand up. Are you complete? And then Lakeisha, and then
I wanted to talk, but let Lakeisha go. Let Lakeisha go, because we haven't heard from her.
Okay, so I do apologize. I wasn't here at the beginning of your introduction. So this has really been like so profound, the whole conversation and everything that's been going on. But I just want to know, I see it says spirit traveler. So I just, just maybe to bring all this home, like, how did you get your name, or why do you call yourself the spirit traveler? Maybe I could connect.
Yeah, I did. I did mention that earlier, but I will share another perspective of it. I am a spirit, like I can show up and then I can't, but I'll still be there and you won't see me. Seriously, I do have the gift of cloaking. I have the gift of transformation. I have the gift of mirroring. We all do, but I use these to my advantage. I have traveled in spirit in several places. And even though I have not physically traveled across waters to other lands other than Canada, I've been everywhere on the planet and outside of the planet, coming to know that, like really, really knowing that it's not a belief. It's not, oh, I'm trying to make a story so I can be some kind of way. No, I believe I chose Spirit Traveler before it came to me, like it was some kind of aha thing. As much as, we say we give ourselves these names to assist us, to guide us on the path that we're on, it's just a remembering. It was just a remembering. Somewhere I know that Spirit Traveler was not my name. It was my title. It was my gift to be able to do that. Because a lot of what's in the cosmology, in several cosmologies that I've looked into for my birthday, I am like the goddess between heaven and earth, between the realms. I can either take you up or bring the information down and then give it to those on what we call earth, or vice versa. I am a channeler. I do ancestral readings, but I don't speak a lot about that because it's if someone needs me to do that, they know to call me. It just happens. I don't, advertise and say, I read and I can tell you what your ancestors are saying. No, sometimes I might even be in a room just sitting with somebody and they're standing over your shoulder or standing over in the corner, and Spirit tells me you need to tell them X, Y, and Z. And I'd be like, me? I can literally see them. And then when I begin to describe them to the person that they're there to receive the message, oh, that's my uncle. Oh, that sounds like such and such. Oh, so that spirit traveling and spirit traveler is all encompassing of the who and what of me, if you will. That the name speaks for itself, and any kind of reputation. I don't know what people say about me out in the public, but whether it sounds good or not, or whether it is exceptional or not, it's all me, Spirit Traveler. Now, if you got some uncertainties about what people are saying, come get it from the horse's mouth. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people will make up things, and that's okay too, because all that does is fortify, give you the soil to grow the rest of your everything you need to grow from. So if you want to throw some cow manure in the soil mix to help me grow, throw some. I used to feel bad about that. When people say throw shade and dirt and whatever, I used to be so sensitive about that. But it's like the earth. It's using everything to its advantage, even that plastic that we can't do nothing with. Have you seen the miraculous things that people are making from waste and plastic? There is still some benefit when we find it's not even an attitude of being grateful. When we find ourselves in gratitude as the gratitude itself, then we begin to live differently on the planet. It's not ever a bad thing. It's not ever, this is happening to me. Oh.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you because we're over the time, and I want to get this in. So let her know why we were talking about babies as it relates to what you do. While we were talking about, that.
Okay. So I am a doula of 40 plus years and a midwife of 30 plus years. And I'm not your regular midwife. I don't show up with a bag. A lot of what I do, I use muscle testing, I use kinetics, I use tapping in spiritually and etherically to the realm that the baby calls me into. I connect with families. Spirit will say, no, I don't want you there at the house, but you can assist them by sharing, what they can do to get to the hospital. I stopped doing hospital births because it just, it's like kryptonite for me. Going to the hospital and working with moms is like kryptonite for me. I could do it, but it will require a lot of work. And if I want to be compensated for the double amount of work, sometimes triple amount of work that I do at the hospital just to fight demons alone, then people are not going to want to pay me for that. They're not going to want to compensate me for that. And I would rather charge more to go into the hospital than to have a home birth. Because the journey is easier, it's lighter, it's more wish granted versus going into the hospital, because they say they want you there, but they really don't. If you're serious about your business, about being an advocate for the mom and on post for the entire family and on guard like Jesus in the manger, they didn't let everybody in that doggone barn. Everybody can't come looking. So when you have those babies in that hospital, everybody can't come looking. No, you don't even have the privilege of your energy to be in this space, in this room. And that's part of the advocacy of a doula that I stand with. It ain't about, oh, let me rub your leg. It is about it, but it's not about, let me rub your leg and let me help your back feel better. No, I am here to protect this divine being that's coming through you, which means I'm protecting you. I'm at the door. I'm your mouthpiece unless you tell me different. I stand for what you say because the mother has the final say. And if she changes it in the instant, like I changed my mind, I can't deal with this, I'll just remind her, we decided this. Now, is this what you want to do? Because if you do, I support you in it. But is this what you want to do out of fear? Is this what you want to do out of ignorance? Or is this what you want to do because you're in so much pain, you feel like you can't go any further? Now, when they get to that feel like you can't go any further, then that's when I begin to walk with them and help them in their ear to remember why you chose this route without intervention in the first place, and how we knew there was going to be some intervening because this is their territory. And then same vice versa for at home. I don't think I want to go to the hospital. Pause. Just hold on. Do we want to make a rash decision? Did you talk to the baby first? Is that where the baby wants to be delivered? Because you won't have to be accountable when they get here. You know how some children be mad, like, how come you didn't tell me that you wasn't my real mother? Why you didn't tell me that you took me to the belly of the beast? Hospital. I'm not trying to be funny, but that's literally what it is, based on their behavior and their track record, not because I just get off calling names about the hospital. The hospital is a killing field. It is not a preventative place for healing, health, or the sacredness of life. It is not. And if you find me one, please tell me, because I will be the first to go and advertise to the world where it's located. If it's anywhere in Detroit, if it's somewhere else, then I got to be prepared to go and check it out, because Spirit will definitely let me know if that's the case.
Okay, Star, you have a question or statement?
First of all, I don't know who on here has Lavender's number, but I need to get in touch with you because I have to talk to you about something.
Put it in the chat, sweetheart.
Oh.
Lavender, can you put it in the chat? Because I need it too.
Yes, Danielle.
Put it there. I got
Okay,
you.
great. Because
Okay, good.
I can't chew gum and walk at the same time. No.
The other thing is, in reference to, and then I have a question after this statement, in reference to the question that Queen asked about the baby's responsibility and what they know, God showed me this in reference to somebody that I know, that she had a brother, and the brother was only here for a few hours, but he accomplished his purpose for coming. And God told me what his purpose was is this: if he had lived, my friend would not have come. And the grief and pain that the mother felt from his passing is what caused my friend to be here. And when she was in the mother's womb, her brother's spirit came to her and gave her the mantle for what she has to do when she got here. So that was just, I was reminded of that when you were saying, when Queen asked the question. And then my question is, I saw Danielle and Mama Het put this in the chat, and I want to know, what is a blighted ovum?
It's an undeveloped embryo.
Oh.
So think of it, the best way I can think of it would be like a whole egg, an egg that just stays an egg. The embryo itself doesn't, the cells don't divide the way they're supposed to create the to create the embryo. So I remember when I got an ultrasound, I still had the hormones in my body. And I was pregnant. There's a sac, there's everything is there, but there's no baby.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Can I say something to that? Part of those, this is just I need you all to understand that it's not written in a book and it's not law once it comes from my mouth. It's just what I've been blessed to see and hear and come to know. Part of any what some would call defects in our hormones are not always due to our personal defect, DNA. It's not always due to exterior crap in this polluted environment that we live in. And it's not always due to the genetics that's passed down to us. A lot of times, some of these things are the end result and the manifestation of unresolved emotional traumas that we're dealing with personally. And that's part of the role that I play with women when I'm going through prenatal, is that there's something there that's going to stop you from fully surrendering to this process. So I'm not slighting, nor do I think I know better than what they said they called a blighted ovum. But if it looks and feels like you're pregnant, you have the desire. The desire and the will is what brought that forth. The void of baby is because of something else. And that's for you to inquire personally for yourself, to find out why it was void of baby, whether it was the right time or the right spirit, or were you in the right spirit to bring it forth? And which part of this lesson for you having that experience with that did you get? And how are you going to use it going forward? You know, because a lot of times, sometimes we can become blinded by the expertise of doctors, and or sometimes stifled by our inability to want to know further what's happening inside of our bodies. So that's why I use kinetics or muscle testing. That was one of the things that they used when there were no x-ray machines, no ultrasounds, and no anything, connecting with the baby by way of the magnetic field and asking permission if I can check this to find out if she's 6 centimeters, if the baby is turned wrong. And at times I don't even have to touch or feel. Spirit will say, tell her to turn this way. Have her just walk around a few minutes. Ask everybody to leave the room because there's still some work she has to do at that final hour almost, when the baby starts, the labor starts to stall out. There is something else that needs to be done, like just before that baby comes. You know how you go through the rites of passage, and it's that one last thing you got to learn before you can become a neophyte, before you can cross over? That's that thing that happens sometimes in labor. It's that one last thing that has to happen, as you need to clear the way to make his or her arrival smoother. However long you all have agreed for the staying of the baby. And as for the transition to Mama Evelyn of it being smooth, yeah, she called it into existence. Not only that, there are women that have the ability to have smooth. People used to say, well, Spirit, how do you have babies back to back like that? That don't hurt. Hurt. What is pain? I mean, what really is pain? Because we have described contractions or laboring as pain, then we experience such. Mm-hmm. But if we say it's just like your heart doing its thing, it's just like, you know, your body, your eyes naturally blinking. Your uterus is naturally contracting because it's expelling a being that needs to be delivered from your body on a time clock, but not theirs, not ours, not the daddy, not the doctor who got to get back to his golf game, but on their time. Because in the heavens is something happening. And when
Yeah.
they come through on that time that things is happening in the heavens, that's what they're coming to change, shift, or make full awareness of when they come through there. And that's why that person used to be right there with the midwife, taking that time and that date and that baby's name. So she'll know, the parents clearly will know fully how to guide this child without too much altering of their personality. Because they come out pure. It's us that be starting to do stuff. No, I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. No, I want to go this way. I've always wanted this, and I've always wanted that. But they come to show you what they want and what you agreed upon, and then you are guided by them, and you comply. That number before that's my old number. I wish I had that number, but it's being held hostage with Sprint. So my number is 313-989-3482. And it's so much like the old one. So 313-989-3482. Yes, that's it. Thank you so much.
Lavender Spirit Traveler.
Yes.
This has been a ride.
So you was on a spirit traveler
We were
plane?
on a traveling with you today, girl. From the moment we said hi, I didn't even you were talking to me. I was trying to get everything on and stuff, and you already asked me a question. You talked to
I
me.
didn't even know what was happening. I was just like, I'm here.
It was such a joy when I heard you were coming. It was like, oh man, because I was going to ask her to come. I'm so glad that you showed up on this day.
Yes, thank you. It is definitely an extra special day too.
So I want to thank all of you queens for showing and even staying longer.
Yeah.
The information was invaluable. And I've got some posting to do. I want to remind everyone of the event and to make sure that you are posting. We have a conference, Elizabeth Visionary Conference on Mother's Day weekend, so that Friday and Saturday. And definitely want to make sure that you are, if at all, able to come to join us. And
okay.
So we'll be in contact with you about that.
Please do.
Edwana, thanks for coming, even though we're on our way out.
On our way out, but this was so fabulous. Thank you.
Yeah, you want to close up?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Lavender, for answering the call. We definitely have to do this again because you are a wealth of knowledge, and it's like wow, just wow. I do want. Oh, tell us more before we go. Tell us more about your class because you do have a class coming up.
Okay, I call it the first of all times. Spirit Traveler has finally decided to come out of hermesy. I am, I want to say teaching, but I'm sharing the wisdom and knowledge that I've been blessed to share as much as I can share in a 1 week time frame, April 24th through the 29th, I believe. It's 5 days of learning of being a doula, but the blessing is that I cannot separate doula from midwife. So they're going to learn both of them as I share what I share. And afterwards, because it's my center, they will be certified. They will be certified sacred path of intuitive doulas. Certified sacred path of intuitive doulas. And I don't say certified in any arrogant way, but how you gonna certify somebody and it's your God gift to sit next to your sister? I'm just putting certification on it so people can move using, in Romans, we do what the Romans do. But for the record, you don't need a certification to move and do your God-given work. No, ma'am, no, sir. And I'm not gonna pay you so you can tell me that I'm qualified and I've been doing this for lifetime after lifetime. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I'm sharing that with a group of women for the very first time because I done ran in and ran back out and put my toe in and ran back out and changed it for at least 15 years. So I'm finally teaching and sharing. And then at the end, they're going to do one-on-one hand, I call it combat, one-on-one combat, one-on-one with each other on different scenarios on that Saturday. And then later that evening, we're going to have a ceremony. And they will be card carrying, sacred path, intuitive doulas. So that's what I'll be doing. I'm really excited. I wrote down so much that I want to share, and I know I cannot share it in that 5-day span. So whatever spirit gives me is what that class drew out of me that they needed. And then when the next one comes, it'll be for them, and it'll be for them, because that's the uniqueness about doulas anyway. No one doula is alike. Neither of us have the same kind of spirit. Somebody might want your spirit or your energy to be by their side when this new birth comes through. And it doesn't mean that they don't like mine. The baby is like, well, I want a warrior. Send me Het, because Het gonna be in there tomorrow. I'm taking heads. Send me a silent warrior. And Star be sitting there praying and meditating while that baby is coming through. Everybody wants something and needs something different to bring out the best of the experience.
Yeah.
So
where's it gonna be at?
Right now, I'm working on securing my space with Avalon Village for the first 5 days. Mm-hmm. And then the work training day and ceremony is going to be at Ohana Gardens. I was trying to patronize both Black women businesses and also keep it close. So those that are coming from out of town won't have to travel all the way around town and back to get to classes. I'll just be traveling all the way around town and back. It's one of me.
Are these all-day classes?
These are 3 hours each evening, 4 hours on Friday, and all day Saturday.
Okay.
Now, you know how spirit works. Pardon me?
Is there a cost?
It was $550 for the entire package.
Mm-hmm.
$50 to lock in your seat, and $500 as a donation, with me being obedient to spirit to charge something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that came about. Otherwise, I'd be teaching and everybody be like, hey, another thing, spirit, tell me about the so-and-so. And I go home and ask somebody, can they give me a ride? And I ain't got, as my mom would say, a pocket piss in. Exactly. So I learned the hard way, but at the same time, I still reap a benefit in the blessing, but I still had to get on some big girl, I need some money kind of game. And it took a little while, because me and money, I love it, but you ain't gonna make me do nothing just because you paying me, because money ain't what moves me. Mm-hmm. That is not. I don't care how much you tell me you're gonna give me, Medicaid or not, or whomever else, not the money. That I don't do this for money. Mm-hmm. The money is a form of exchange to possibly give someone an idea of not my worth or my value, because that is priceless. Yeah. It is to have the experience in the moment of time as a charitable donation, like really, because I know when I go in, I go all the way in. I'm there. I deliver the baby with the mom. I am pregnant and having a baby at the same time that the mom is pregnant and having the baby, and I have not learned how to separate the two. So I'm exhausted after each one, and I have to go home and get some rest too.
Sure, I'm sure.
I have to go home and get rest. So it's a lot, just to hold space for the divine being to come through is a lot, especially if you got folks that don't want it to happen, or don't believe it can happen in the way that you're choosing to do it. So I'm a devil slayer in the highest form. But I do more protecting of the spirits so that the devil don't have to have his way. Yeah. That ain't going down. And this is that portal where they like to come in at that point. That's a very sacred point, the point of life and the point of death. That's where it's like a breach or opening there. It's possible, if you're slick enough, you can make your way through. And that's why they are gatekeepers or guides or angels or ancestors present to protect and make the space so sacred that the pure source can come through without interruption or deviation.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you so much.
We love you, Spirit Traveler.
We love you. This is
I love
full of information.
each of
Lavender.
you. And is that Lakeisha? It's a pleasure meeting you. It's good to see your face on here. I know everyone else. Mama Star, will you text me so I'll know it's you? Because I'll answer the phone for any number. I'm gonna post that all the time.
I hear you.
I'm not
I hear
trying
you.
to be funny. I'm led by the Spirit to answer my phone. And if I find out it's something I didn't pick up on, I just have to call them back, you know. And sometimes
Same here, Mom.
apologize, but
Same
sometimes trust that it's all in divine order. Because I'm protecting this. This is how I get my messages from Spirit. And anybody just calling because you want to make a sale or something you on or whatever you're on, I can't. My life don't depend on a phone call. It does not, you know, and that's how I'm not even learning to live, but respecting how Spirit is guiding me to live. Everybody can't do that.
Yeah.
But that's how I have to do it in order to honor the gifts and to maintain the sacredness of what I do. You know, it's like letting people come in your house and you don't let them take their shoes off at the door. Some people do it, other people don't, but I don't want everything that you trampled over and came through to come into my house and disrupt the Spirit under your feet into my house in that way. So it's the same way with people calling, wanting to come see you. Everybody don't get to come to my apartment. You know, it's just, I just can't, I just can't do it, you know? And yeah, I can protect all of this. I can whip it up and set it up where it's a force field and you won't even be able to get there. Like, God, I've been trying to get inside it 9333 all day and I can't get past this gate and it ain't even locked. Why can't I get in here?
Do we need to have a part 2 Wednesday? Do we
I
need to
think
have
so.
the Spirit Traveler part 2 on Wednesday? Because I think we need a part 2. I think we
Lord.
need a part
Because
2.
you have so much to say, but I just
Yeah.
know over time.
Right. Oh
Okay,
my
part
God.
2 on Wednesday if you're available. I'm just saying.
Is it the same? Is it the same number?
Yeah.
Everything's the same. Everything's the same. We just need you. Just show up. Yeah.
So let me please say thank you to Danielle for
Yes.
inviting me. Thank you for Queen for inviting me at the river. And I was going through so much then, I couldn't think past what I was thinking on. So I couldn't show up for that. Thank you, Star, for always being that loving spirit. Every single time I see you. Thank you. Thank you, Mama Evelyn. You're just creative beyond measure. And one day I just might be like you. When I stop doing everything else. And the warrior. The warrior. I love you. I love each of you for how you have decided, chosen, and been obedient to showing up this time around. I love you for that. Thank you for being one of the best examples and exemplary of divine femininity to me. I don't care what nobody else got to say, because it's been you all that have grew me up in spaces, even though I was over the hill gang at 50. No, I was learning some lessons just watching you be the fullness of yourself inside of your own personal challenges that you were still dealing with. You all were showing up. I've seen it. I can bear witness, and if everybody got a problem with them, call me. I'll show up and speak on your behalf, each and every one of you. So thank you so much for allowing me to share space with you all. And if you're serious about Wednesday, I can set that.
We all are.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I can set it up to make that happen. And Mama Star, when you're ready, just give me a few minutes. I need to, regroup. If you want to call me today, just give me a call in about an hour or so. I'll be ready.
You gotta call me too.
So I
I'm
thank you.
later on.
I thank you, Danielle, for being obedient, and I thank you for, despite all of whatever those hurdles were that was trying to get in the way what was to be.
Mhm.
Appreciate you being persistent and consistent and just regulating the flow of things so that on this day, at this hour, we were able to show up in spirit together collectively.
Girl, we're gonna have a slumber party.
I would, and look, I would love that
We can
too.
chat all night.
Now, you know, we had one at your place. I was there with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I was there at the slumber party. I saw pictures of that too. And every time I look back, I was like, man, I've been with these women most of my growing adult life as a mother and a scared, hectic, crazy, insane wife.
Well,
When y'all were getting me through. Y'all were getting me through some stuff. You know, I walk with a smile. I stand upright, you know, in the public, but I be going through it. Sister be going through it. And I don't, but to the degree that I am as beautiful and enlightening and happy, equal opposite when I'm not. So, and I know how that can have an impact on others. So I don't want you all to have to share that in that way, because sometimes people don't know what to do with me when I'm in that space, because it's so heavy and it's so penetrating and impactful on people. So I go in my shell and I heal and lick my own wounds and get it together and come back out to do the work, you know? And sometimes I make calls, sometimes people may call me in it. They're brave enough to cross the barriers. Like, no, I'm calling to see how you doing. Like, but no, I want to know how you're doing. So, and sometimes they get through there. So thank you. Because I know I'm long-winded. And once I get started, it's like starting a car and getting on the road going 100 miles an hour. You cannot put on the brakes immediately.
Hug yourself. Hug yourself.
Oh,
Hug
yes,
yourself.
yes.
Mama, hug yourself and hug the whole wide world.
Yeah.
And sprinkle goodness and love and peace and joy and dancing and prancing and beautification and all of that. And have a wonderful day. And we will see you
in the
moments.
Yes. Thank you so much. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Come earlier, Edwana.
Thank you.